Aaron Mills, former front runner is Junior TKM, and Colin Smith on row 9. Scott Simmons finished in the top 10 in last year's Rotax, Junior Rotax World Finals. Simmons only on the 10th row here alongside Davy Shepherd. Josh Stringer and Frank Bird are on row 12 and Thomas O'Regan on row 13. And it does look as though not all 23 intended starters have made it out on circuit. The Tag Heuer timing screens, which are providing live timing and scoring via the internet, are telling me, let's have a quick helmet count, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. So that means that we have not got Callum Hopcutt, we have not got Aaron Mills. So the MLC Motorsport number 81 kart of Hopcutt and the S8 Racing number 54 of Mills not on circuit. Well, that won't really have much of an effect on the top 6. All the top 6 at the moment know is that there's still a lot of drivers behind them. And white and green number 92 of Hurst, he's alongside the red and silver number 79 of Pett. As they come through onto the start finish straight, and the lights are out, we're off and racing. Hold your breath. 21 karts go through the Bruno Ferrari S, and there we go, 2-3 karts into the tyres. I was worried that this would happen. They have been so close to each other in every race through that fast first chicane, and there's been a little bit of give and take during the heat races. Now, when desperation kicks in, drivers are going to be less inclined to leave racing room, and in these X30 karts, even on the first lap, they're doing 50 miles an hour going into there, under the bridge. Wheel-to-wheel contact at those speeds is not pleasant. Oh, Davy Shepherd has spun in the number 55 kart. Poor old Davy Shepherd has had a nightmare here at Kart Masters 2016, and it hasn't got any better. Now, his teammate, Brett Ward, is due to start the pre-final from pole position, and Davy looks like his day, his weekend is over. The leaders complete lap number 1. Luca Hurst, Marcus Pett, Fraser Rose, the top 3. Then a gap back to Brendan Patterson, Jack Leeson, Kian Sang. They're 4th, 5th and 6th. Right behind Sang in 7th place is the number 44 Intrepid kart of Samuel Wade. Behind Wade, a gap back to Jonathan Paylor, Stephen Burdus, Matthew Hurst. Hurst has had problems, and he's one of the drivers you would have expected to qualify for the main final. Hurst, Simmons in the number 34 kart, who's down in 15th, another driver having a tough weekend. And Harry Whitaker in kart number 67. Well, he's a privateer driver, and Harry had a storming run at some point yesterday. What was the event that Harry Whitaker... Yeah, he finished 7th in one of his heats, but that was the only heat that he got through unscathed. And it looks as though he's had a problem, and he's down in 18th place here. The leaders complete lap number 2. Matthew Hurst sets a new fastest lap, 59.71 seconds. Hurst in the purple liveried Cosmic kart for KR Sport. And KR Sport, a multiple world championship winning team. Oh, and another crash coming down towards the first hairpin. That is driver number 26. He came together, I think, with Sam Wade. Let's have a little look. I think it was Wade in the 44 and the 26 of Burdus, who came together. Stephen Burdus into the inside barriers there and out of the race. And after 2 days of close, hard, but generally decent racing, already you can see drivers, they know if they're going to make a move, they've got to make it stick. There's no half chances. And if they're faced with elimination, especially after a weekend where they think that they've been quick enough to qualify, but circumstances beyond their control have put them in the situation. You do get desperate, and that is where incidents occur. And I'm sure the officials will be reminding the drivers before the pre-finals of getting through the first couple of corners without crashing. Matthew Hurst has got the fast lap of the race, and coming into the second hairpin, Hurst now moves to the head of that second train. The top 5 drivers are now clear. Luca Hurst, Pett, Rose, Lees and Tsang. They are over a second clear of the 6th place battle. And at the moment, there's 8 drivers in that battle for 6th place. Coming on to the start-finish line now, led by Hurst, with Paylor behind. So Matthew Hurst is the final transfer driver at the moment. Sam Wade is about to receive the mechanical flag. Obviously a problem with that kart, damage sustained in the incident with Burdus. It is not safe to continue. He will have to pit. His chances of getting into the pre-final and final is over. And so it now looks like it's going to be a head-to-head fight between the 96 of Matthew Hurst, the 99 of Strawberry Racing's Jonathan Paylor. And Paylor has got to get his head down because Hurst is pulling away. And I didn't think we'd be saying that. So let's KR Sport and Strawberry Racing fighting over the final transfer spot in the B final. That shows how tough the competition in this class is. Behind Jonathan Paylor, you've got Brendan Patterson is 8th, Matthew Armstrong 9th, Thomas O'Regan started last up to 11th, Scott Hughes is 12th, Scott Simmons is 13th, then Colin Smith, Harry Whittaker, Josh Stringer, Frank Bird, Audron Henry and Scott Jackson. But the drivers down at the back of the pack now with 4.5 minutes to go. They're just racing for pride. As Matthew Hurst, well, the battle for 6th place no longer exists because Matthew Hurst has motored away from Jonathan Paylor. He's put nearly a full second between himself and the number 99 kart in the last lap alone, and Matthew Hurst is now closing in on the lead 5. So Hurst, who he's had an 8th place finish in one of his heat races, so he's got top 10 pace as Matthew Hurst. He's now showing it. Sam Wade is still on circuit, and the technical flag still showing, and Sam's probably thinking to himself, oh, kart looks fine, kart feels fine, what's the problem? Well, he can't see what's behind him. It may be something, a chain guard has come off, but the scrutineering team or the marshalling team spotted something amiss with that kart. It's a safety issue, and if he doesn't pit within 3 laps, the technical flag, which is the black flag with the orange meatball on it, that becomes a black flag. And that could see Mr. Wade having a discussion with some of the officials in the office before the day is out. So it's in his interests to remove himself to the pit lane as quickly as possible. Spin for Frank Bird. Kart 162 carries on, but now Frank is down in 18th. Brendan Patterson has retired the number 76 Mark Baines Motorsport kart. And there is the black flag being shown to Sam Wade. And up at the front, not talking, that's good, we're not talking about the race leader Luca Hurst because he's just quietly getting on with it. That Went Valley Motorsport kart, it's a Birrell ART chassis. And he's being chased by the 79 of Marcus Pett. So the 2 front row drivers have just continued to run first and second. Fraser Rose in kart 145 is 9/10 of a second behind them. In third, Jack Lees in the number 18 kart, coming through the final corner now. He's got Kian Tsang in the number 188, looking to his inside, change for 4th place. Kian Tsang goes through. Jack Lees drops back to 5th, And Matthew Hurst now passes Jack Lees. I think that was going into turn number 3. And Hurst just giving himself a little bit of extra breathing room. He's now got even more breathing room because he's moved into 4th. And Matthew Hurst has now got to think of saving his tyres because, of course, you can't just bolt on a new set of boots every single race. There are restrictions on tyres. And Matthew Hurst, he looks like he's going to make the pre-final and the Grand Prix itself, but his tyres will have done, at the moment, we're on lap number 9, so he would have done another 10 or 11 laps than everyone else. But I think Matthew Hurst had to, number 1, make sure of his place in the remainder of the event, and then, obviously, give it some welly to try and establish that the kart is working correctly and it's set up properly. Jonathan Paylor runs 7th, but there's a 4-second gap now between the top 6. So the only way that we're going to have a change in the transfer drivers is if something falls off one of the top 6, or indeed if someone falls off. And the way that Hurst has passed Marcus Pett now, so Pett has slipped back from 2nd to 5th. Hurst is up to 3rd. And all this overtaking just makes you nervous because they don't need to be doing it. Behind the top 6. Paylor runs 7th in the number 99 as Hurst now sizes up the number 145 car of Fraser Rose. And as they come onto the start-finish straight, Luca Hurst crosses the line. Here comes Matthew Hurst. Smoothly through into 2nd place. Under the bridge, out onto the banking. Where did Matthew Hurst start again? We started 12th, and the clock strikes 0. He should finish this race in 2nd. Rose 3rd, Sang 4th, Pett 5th, and Lees in the number 18 kart coming into the 2nd hairpin now is 7th. It is rather in the final transfer spot in 6th. Paylor and Armstrong 7th and 8th, followed by Thomas O'Regan in 9th from the back of the grid. 10th for Scott Simmons, then Harry Whittaker, Scott Hughes and Colin Smith are up next. The last lap board is being prepared. Luca Hurst brings the lead group of 6 drivers unofficially, and they've still got to get round this last lap. The 6 successful drivers go out onto the banking. Hurst in control. Hurst and Hurst. Luca and Matthew, no relation. They come down towards hairpin number 1. Up towards the 2nd 180-degree hairpin. And I can see in 6th position, Jack Lees, the privateer driver from Tarpley, having a glance over his shoulder and probably breathing a sigh of relief that there's a big gaping void of empty tarmac behind him. Jonathan Paylor has still got to fight for 7th place. Matthew Armstrong wants it, but of course, as we said in the previous race, if there's a problem with anyone in the top 6, Paylor wants to be the first driver to punch his ticket and go through at the expense of somebody else. So 7th place is still important, and Paylor takes it from Matthew Armstrong, but Luca Hurst provisionally takes the honours in the Senior X30B final. Matthew Hurst finishes 2nd. Fraser Rose takes 3rd. 4th for Kian Thang. 5th for Marcus Pett. And 6th, breathing the biggest sigh of relief, is number 18, Jack Lees. And unofficially, Kart Masters is over for Jonathan Paylor, Thomas O'Regan, Matthew Armstrong, Harry Whittaker, who finished 10th, and Scott Simmons in 11th, Scott Hughes in 12th. Both Dan Holland racing karts in that race. Scott Hughes and Colin Smith go no further. The CRG Ireland's number 50 of Audron Henry finishes 14th, and then the S8 Racing number 168 of Josh Stringer, privateer number 180 kart of Scott Jackson, and the M Sport number 162 of Frank Bird. The last karts running: Sam Wade, Brendan Patterson, Stephen Burdis, Davey Shepherd failed to finish, Callum Hopcutt and Aaron Mills failed to start.